All right, welcome everyone to our show. It's me, Landon Sikahema, your host, and joining us today, I have my guest, my very good personal friend, Scott Muhlstein. Scott is currently pursuing a master's degree in American Studies from the University of Hawaii, and he is the vice president over Pomelo Travel and Flights from Home. Scott, thanks for joining us on the show today, man.
Yeah, really happy to be here.
Yeah, appreciate it. So yeah, again, among other accomplishments, he's accomplished. Scott, again, he's the vice president over Pomelo Travel and Flights from Home, and his stories of how he started getting into this. His brother is the president, correct? So, the way that him and his brother kind of got into traveling is really interesting. And, it makes sense that eventually his older brother started this company and, Scott's the vice president over the whole company. But yeah, a lot of you have probably heard about the companies. It's really successful. But for this episode today, I'm going to have Scott do the first episode of my podcast where we're doing some lists. I love lists, I love ranking stuff. I'm going to have Scott rank his top 10 favorite countries to travel to in the whole world. With a couple of these countries, he might have traveled to these countries more than once. And so that's okay. We're not doing top, the top trips, just top countries. So for a couple of these countries, he might talk about multiple trips that he's been to each individual country. But Scott, yeah, we're going to turn the time over to you for now. Let's start with number 10. So what's the number 10 favorite country that you've ever traveled to in your life, Scott?
My number 10 is Norway. I actually only recently traveled to Norway this last summer. It was my first time, so it's fresh in my mind. But I would say that Norway is at the number 10 slot.
Awesome. Okay, so number 10, again, of all the many places you've traveled, your number 10 favorite country you've ever been to is Norway. So let's break it down. Like, what is your favorite things about Norway? Tell me how many times you've been to Norway. And again, I'll have you guys know, Scott really, he loves travel probably more than even most people do, and in multiple ways compared to most people I know. And so, yeah, some of these things might be a little out of the box, but yeah, it's interesting the different things he does when he travels. So yeah, start with how many times have you been to Norway, and tell me about all the things you love so much about Norway.
Yeah, so I've only been to Norway once this last summer. And it kind of hit me off guard. I wasn't really looking forward so much to going to Norway. My original trip was a plan to go to Sweden, to kind of get around Scandinavia a little bit. I have some heritage, some ancestry from Sweden, so I was really anxious to get there. And I did love Sweden. Maybe if we ever do a top 20 list, we can talk a little bit about Sweden and what I love there.
You can count on it,
Um,
Scott.
yeah, yeah. But as far as Norway goes, Norway really took me by surprise. I mean, the things that really stick out to me just right off the bat are the incredible natural beauty of Norway. It's a really, really beautiful country. The nature is just stunning. A lot of you guys might know that Norway is really known for its fjords. So
For it's
these
what? Break that down. I don't even know what that is. These are some
fjords. Yeah,
real big,
so I
expensive words.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it does sound like a kind of a fancy word. I actually didn't know what fjords were. It's one of those words that I would always pretend to know, when people talked about it, about the fjords.
I'm not going to
Um,
pretend I don't know. So,
yeah, that's good. That's good. So basically what a fjord is, and I'm not up to date on like the exact science of or the ecological science of fjords, but basically as far as I understand, a fjord is it's where the ocean comes into the land. So it's like a big inlet, right? So it looks like a
so
lake
it's an inlet from the coast, like from an
from the
ocean
ocean.
coast,
Yeah.
but from the ocean
It's
coast, the ocean comes inland for a little while at least.
quite far inland. So it
Um,
appears like a lake. Like if you were just driving past it, you might think that it's a lake because it's surrounded by land, but ultimately it's connected to the ocean. And so it's salt water. And so there's all these inland fjords all throughout Norway.
that
Um,
many of which go inland quite far, you're saying, huh?
quite far. Yeah.
Huh.
And I had the opportunity to stay right next to one of these fjords. I went to a conference there for my church, and because I was at this conference, they had set up like a little sauna right next to the fjord. And so that ended up being one of my favorite things about Norway is for those of you that don't know, Scandinavia in general, there's a big sauna culture. Finland is really known for the sauna, but I guess in recent years, the sauna culture has migrated to Norway. And so all throughout uh, Oslo and other parts of Norway that we visited, there's these saunas, right? And they're right next to the fjords. And the idea is that you jump into the fjord, you get real cold because it's really cold ocean water. So it's like a cold plunge. And then you dry off in the sauna, and then you might repeat this several times. So that's one of the things that I loved the very most was this sauna culture that I was introduced to.
So the sauna, again, we're not talking about a hot tub. I mean, this will probably greatly show my ignorance, but it's just like a room with all the steam. Is that right?
Right, right. So it's like a dry sauna, right? So like you go in there, it's full of steam. There's like the rocks that are like being heated up, and then you pour water on the rocks, and then it creates the steam. And yeah, it's really
Wow.
popular over
Do
there.
you yourself pour water on the rocks or workers there
Yeah,
do?
yeah. Whoever's in the sauna can take up the little dipper and pour the water. Um,
So you jump into the forge, get freezing, and you go
uh
into the sauna with no towel and just completely dry off by
Yeah, I mean,
dumping
dry off might be kind
water
of a
on the,
funny.
huh?
You warm up more so. I mean, you're still gonna be damp in the sauna, right?
Well,
Because
yeah,
all
I
the steam.
figured, but like
Yeah,
now you're damp from sweat instead of the
yeah,
freezing cold water.
yeah. It is a little bit gross in some ways. Like, we went
I
to a
don't think that
variety
sounds
of
gross.
saunas,
That sounds, every aspect of that sounds appetizing to me, besides the getting cold at first.
but I went to Norway with my friend Nick and my friends Tanner and Sierra, and me and Nick really got into the sauna thing, and so we went to a variety of saunas. We went to this public sauna in Bergen, which is another city that we visited in Norway, which I would like to talk about.
Yeah.
But this public sauna was kind of nasty, right? Because you have like parents and kids, and everyone's packed in there like a little sardine can, and it's like a
Hey, real
public
quick,
pool.
hold that
Yeah,
thought because I want to hear the train of thought you're talking about. But when you
yeah.
say that there were some public saunas, as
Hmm.
opposed to like some saunas are private,
Yeah, so like in Oslo, I guess this is kind of new, but like right on the fjord, because there's a fjord in Oslo as well. They have built these floating saunas. So there's these saunas that are floating on the ocean. And you can,
in the fjord, like the ocean water coming inland, or like on
yeah.
the actual ocean.
I mean, on the fjord, which is the ocean, but just,
Right, but it's like a river inland kind of
yeah, yeah, like an
of
inlet,
ocean water.
correct. And so like there's these floating kind of houses on the ocean there, and
What?
you can pay to like get in the sauna. You can schedule a time, and you can have a sauna experience. And actually, Nick and I had a really cool sauna experience. We paid a little bit extra for this like sauna ritual, which was really interesting. And we didn't know what we were getting into, but ended up being this guy from South America of all places. He wasn't Norwegian, but he did this ritual involving birch tree branches. So
Okay.
we'd be sitting in the sauna, and then he said, "Okay, are you ready?" And then we would all lay down in the sauna, and then he would start whacking us with these birch branches, like tree branches, like
What?
whipping us with these tree branches.
Okay.
And, and it smelled really fragrant, and it like created this like really interesting smell in the sauna, like very like woodsy. And then after we had been whacked with the birch tree branches, they invited us to jump into the fjord and then come back to the sauna. And that was a sequence of about 5 or 6 times of like getting really hot in the sauna, really hot, getting whacked by the birch branches, jumping into the ocean. Uh, Really interesting tactile experience, that's for sure.
Sounds like a whorehouse, whips and chains and stuff. No, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
it was a bit strange. We didn't really know what we were getting into, but we just went along with it. It just on the menu, like when you're choosing your experience at the sauna, it said like sauna ritual, and so we signed up for that. I have no idea really what it was still, but it was interesting.
So I don't. I'm still not getting what's the significance of getting whacked with the birch tree branches, and how hard was it? Did it hurt?
Yeah, it hurt. Like it hurt pretty bad, actually. Like
But
we had
you did it 5 or 6 times in succession when you go jump in the ocean water, come back
yeah.
out, and you let him do it again about 5 or 6
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the significance. I don't know if it's some kind of cultural appropriation or something. I mean, it was strange. It was this guy from South America. He said that this is what they do in South America, is this kind of sauna ritual with the birch tree branches. And I mean, we had already paid for it, so we just went along with it. But
You just wanted to get your money's worth, even if it
yeah,
hurt and you didn't understand why it hurt.
yeah. I mean, it was kind of enjoyable. Like after you get whacked, and then you have the you have the really nice fjord cold water and then back to the heat. It was
And
interesting.
then, but you said when he's whacking you with the birch tree branches, it
Yeah.
smelled really good at least.
Yeah, it was really fragrant. Like they would like dip the birch tree branches in this water and then whack you with the birch tree branches and then um yeah, it like brought this like smell into the sauna. Like this like tree smell, birch smell, I
Well, it
guess.
smelled good at least,
Yeah,
but it
right.
didn't feel good at all. It wasn't like kind of just a hard massage whacking.
I mean, yeah, I mean it wasn't like so painful like that I didn't want to experience it, but I mean it
Did
was
did
it was
it
pretty
feel
hard.
good to any degree, or just more in
Yeah,
the
I
middle
mean,
of?
somewhat, I guess, but like it was a little bit hard for my taste.
Wow. Now again, these are floating saunas
Floating saunas, yeah.
in the fjord. So by floating saunas, are you saying are they like a little island in the fjord, kind
No,
of
no,
thing?
I mean it's just like a little building, like a little boat that floats.
Oh, the sauna is in a boat that's floating somewhere in the
Uh-huh.
middle of this fjord, the river.
Yeah, like it wasn't really shaped like a boat, but like yeah, like kind of like a little houseboat thing, you know, that
So how do
floated
you
on.
get there? You take a little rowboat there real quick or something?
No, I mean it was just right next to the shore, so there's like a little bridge into the sauna
And it's
from the shore.
considered a private sauna. So you
Yeah,
pay someone, you pay to go.
yeah. That's one of the things that surprised me the most is that whoever is in charge of city planning in Oslo approved these saunas because it's like the big bay there right next to like the opera house and everything. And yeah, I mean somehow they got approval to go build these floating saunas right in the middle of the city. So
Um, that's a really unique experience. I feel like you were about to gloss over that. I don't know if you were going to come back to it, but I'm glad I asked you when you were talking about the public sauna. So the public
yeah.
sauna that you were talking about before I kind of put you on this tangent, does that mean it's just a public sauna that anyone can go to without paying?
Yeah, I mean it was like a public pool and sauna. So like just like a public pool in the States, like anyone can pay to go. I think it was like $8. And you go in there. I mean, I
So
jumped in the
that's what you're
pool.
saying is, as opposed to the private saunas that were like floating little island houseboats in the
Hmm.
fjord, these
Hmm.
public saunas, like you said, there's like families and little
Oh
kids
yeah,
there and old
yeah,
people, so you're packed in there like sardines.
yeah. It was really crowded. It was interesting though because the public pool and the sauna were also right next to the ocean in this case, and so they had a big diving board, like probably like 30 feet, where you could do a high dive into the ocean, which was really cool, right next to the pool. Um, and they had like some smaller dives too. And so I did that. I didn't do the high dive, but Nick did the high dive into the ocean. Um, Pretty cool. And I think it's pretty old. I think that public pool is, it looked like it was built in like the 20s or the 30s. So it's been there for a long time.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Um, but you still like the public saunas enough, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I'd probably do it again, but I might bring some like flip-flops or something so I'm not, you know, traipsing around in all these questionable puddles.
Wow.
But before we finish talking about Norway, I know we've kind of gone a little bit long maybe, but I can't
Oh, you're good. Take your
I
time.
can't move I can't move on from Norway without talking about the food. The food was
Okay, let's hear it.
well, I had heard that the food in Scandinavia was nothing to write home about, like it's not that good.
Okay.
But I was surprised, like both in Norway and Sweden, the food was amazing. I don't know if we were just lucky, but this one meal sticks out to me. The one of the first nights that we were there with my friends Tanner, Sierra, and Nick. Nick found this place on Google that had like pretty good reviews. It looked like a little small place just tucked into this street. And so we thought we'd take a chance on it and go. And that's one of my biggest values with traveling is to take a chance on things. I really hate the idea that like a lot of people have about travel that they're not willing to try something out without verification, like without recommendations. Um, because a lot of my best travel experiences have been just like poking around and trying something random out. And so this was one of those times. I mean, it did have the Google reviews, and even that kind of makes me a little uncomfortable. Like, I don't like when people just go off the Google reviews, because there can be amazing things that have low Google reviews. But in this case, the Google reviews were right. And we got to the place, and it's just like you can imagine. Like, you walk into this place, it's this really old building, this little restaurant. Oh, I wish I had pulled up the name of it. I can send it to Landon and you can put it on the podcast description. We get these
You're
guys some
good.
business. Um, but it's this little place and it's like kind of candlelit inside. There's really cool ambiance. Landon knows I really love ambiance and atmosphere. It's one of
Hmm.
the things that interests me the most about places. And, just decorated really beautifully. And we sit down and we're already thinking this is going to be an interesting experience. And we look at the menu, and the menu has these options of doing like a three-course meal or a four-course meal. And that's something I'm kind of unfamiliar with. I mean, I'm kind of a cheapskate when it comes to food. And so I usually gravitate away from those kind of options. But, when the waiter came, he was this really personable guy, super friendly guy, which is another thing that I was surprised about. Um, in Scandinavia, everybody pretty much that we ran into was super friendly and personable. And I had always heard that Scandinavians are cold and kind of to themselves and not very friendly, but that was not my experience at all. And maybe that's because it was August. I don't know. Maybe the good weather puts people in a good mood. But in any case, our waiter was really personable and he really kind of sold the menu to us, He's like, "Oh, you got to get this." And so I ended up ordering along with Nick this uh three-course meal. And it was just to die for. The meal was to die for. I don't know if you want me to get into
Yeah,
specifics, but
break it down.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so like the first thing that we got was these mussels. And there's a lot of really good mussels in Norway. I never had mussels before, but like I'm converted. Like once I came home from Norway, I just went to the store and bought some mussels and have been cooking them up. Um, but yeah, so there's these really good mussels and those are really good. And then the next thing we got was this soup. And oh man, the soup was the best part of the meal. It was this salmon soup, like perfectly creamy, like one of the best flavors I've ever had.
It was it
Uh,
a pretty fairly unique flavor?
Pretty unique flavor, like creamy but also citrusy. It was really, really good.
So pretty unique, but definitely just high quality through the roof.
Super high quality, super good flavor. And oh, I forgot to mention, even before the meal came out, they served us this bread. And I can't have bread. Usually I have celiac disease, so I don't
Oh,
eat
that's
bread.
right.
But my doctor told me that once a month I can have bread. So this was my cheat day. And so I had the
Oh,
bread and the bread was just amazing. Really, really delicious bread, homemade, I'm sure. And then yeah, the soup was amazing. And then for the last course, they had kind of like a filet mignon, like a some beef, and the beef was just amazing. I mean, it was just one of the most delicious meals I've ever had. Very fancy, very delicious.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other specific, unique nuances about it that you want to talk about in particular, or not necessarily?
I mean, it just taught me that sometimes it's okay to splurge just a little bit. Maybe if you're traveling, I
Oh, I
like I
could have
said,
told you that, but yeah,
well, I know you're on
that is a
that
good
train,
lesson.
but yeah, but for me, I usually try to do things cheaply, and I actually stick by that. There's a lot of cases where you can do things cheaply and it's
Of
still
course.
amazing. But in this case, I mean, it wasn't even that crazy. It was probably a $50 meal, which is really pretty high for me, but for like a vacation and a one-time thing, it was doable.
Nice. Okay. Um, I want to move on to that other city that you wanted to talk about.
Oh, Bergen.
Yeah,
Man,
that's what I'm saying.
okay.
Is there anything else you even want to talk about the food? Even other food you ate elsewhere? Or
No, but I mean, before we move on from Bergen, one thing that I discovered in Oslo as well is my love for dance. I,
uh-oh.
I've always been really nervous to dance and self-conscious, but something changed for me on this trip. Actually, it changed in Venice, California. I went out clubbing a little bit in Venice, but once I got to Oslo, we sought out some clubs in Oslo, and the clubs in Europe, I definitely prefer to any American club or dance that I've ever been to. Nick and I went to this club, and to start out the night, there was this live jazz band, and the jazz band was just amazing. Like this amazing jazz band. And like in America, if you go see jazz, I feel like it's a bunch of like people over 50 there, like drinking their wine, like, oh, very nice. But here it was like jazz in its heyday, where it's like a bunch of young people, old people, everybody just dancing and really getting into the music. And like it was this like dingy little club and everybody was packed in there, but the music was amazing. So that was awesome. And then after the live music, this DJ got on, and I love the electronic and club music in Europe. It was just so much easier to dance to than like the top 40 hits that we get at the clubs in America most of the time. And like I really got into it, like the dancing and just kind of let myself dance without judgment. So that's a memory that sticks out to me in Oslo is the dancing.
That's really cool. I like how you made that clear where it's like jazz was for young people. It wasn't just for people who were young in the 40s. It's still the 40s over there in that regard, at least.
Yeah, and
Because I
another
love
dance.
jazz. I
Yeah.
love, when you watch those movies that take place in the 30s or 40s or 50s, it's like I actually think it looks cool.
No,
So
it's awesome. I mean, and it's something to think about with jazz is it originally was dancing music.
yeah,
But also if anyone goes to Oslo, I mean, I recommend going and checking out the Opera House that's right there on the bay. It's really beautiful opera house in kind of this modern architectural style. Really interesting. You can walk up onto the opera house. A lot of locals do that just on their daily walk with their dogs. And while we were walking there, we ran into some dancing experience again where there was this like uh salsa dancing going on, like just out in public. Like there's just like somebody had set up a speaker and everybody was salsa dancing, young and old. And I convinced my friends to stop, and I ended up dancing with like a bunch of different people, and I danced with these older ladies. They were probably in their like 60s, and had a lot of fun salsa dancing there as well. So
nice. That's cool.
yeah.
So yeah, what's the other city? Bergen?
Yeah, the other city is Bergen. In Bergen, I mean, if you really want to see the natural beauty of Norway, Bergen is a great place to stop. It's this little old fishing village. I mean, fishing village is an interesting way to put it, but fishing city, um, right there. I mean, it's been there for ages. There's all these really old buildings that just look like what you expect Norway to look like. The colorful houses, like the red and the blue.
Oh, so you're talking
And
about a lot of the colors of the houses.
yeah, the houses.
And now
And,
I'll say this to everyone. I've never met anyone that appreciates architecture like Scott, and so that's a big thing for him too. So if any of you are into architecture, yeah, so you're talking about the beauty of the houses, but you're also still referring to the natural beauty, the nature also.
oh yeah, I mean, yeah, the architecture is amazing, but the real jewel of Bergen is this access to nature. I mean, it's right next to some of the best hikes, and some of the best rail journeys in Norway.
Some of
Um,
the best what?
Rail journeys, so like train rides.
Oh, so like
Yeah,
train rides that are just gorgeous, as
yeah.
you're going through.
Yeah, so if anybody goes to Norway, this is what I recommend is take the train from Oslo, and take it during the day. And if you take that train from Oslo to Bergen, that train ride is so beautiful. Coming into Bergen is like unreal. Like anywhere else in the world, like any other beautiful place in the world, it's just gorgeous. Um, but once you get to Bergen, there's this there's this one rail journey that you can get to from Bergen called the Flam, I can't remember, Flam, I think. The Flam Railway. And like second for second, that is the best train ride I've ever experienced. I mean, it was amazing. It was
And you've
like,
gone on a lot of train rides, I guess.
yeah, yeah, I've been on a lot of train rides. And like
So tell
it
us about it. Like, why is it so gorgeous? Why is it the best or the
I
prettiest
mean, it's
train ride you've ever
considered
been
one of the
on?
most beautiful train rides in the world. Like that's what they advertise it as. It's only about an hour long, and it's mostly people that take it for the scenic view. But like I was saying, it's just you pass by all these fjords, and as you pass by the fjords, there's these amazing waterfalls coming down from the mountains. There's beautiful rivers and fields, and it just it's hard to explain in words. I wish I could show you guys some pictures.
Yeah,
Um,
or keep going.
yeah, but like as you go along, you make this one stop at this waterfall, and I mean it's the most amazing waterfall. When we were there, there was this amazing, beautiful rainbow at the waterfall, and there's also um a secret part of that journey that I won't reveal for the viewers here in case they ever go. But there's a little surprise on that rail journey that just makes it really stand out. And as you go throughout the rail journey, there's a speaker on the train, like an announcer, and he points out, the the sites, and he also talks a little bit about Norwegian folklore and history, and about like the legends of the trolls that used to live in these hills, and the folklore, and just the whole experience was amazing. I would recommend it to anyone.
Tell me more about. Sorry, what's this city called again?
The railway is called Flam Railway.
But the city is it Bergen?
Oh, Bergen, yeah.
So between Bergen but Norway itself, you've talked about the beauty, but break down more what's so beautiful about it. You've talked about the fjords, you talked about the waterfalls,
Uh,
rivers. Are there mountains? Is it green? Obviously, it's
yeah,
on the
I mean,
coast, right?
yeah, I
So,
was there in August, so I don't know what it's like the rest of the year. I imagine very cold and snowy. So,
but
I
even
can
that's pretty in its own
I'm
way.
sure it's beautiful. And if I went back to Norway, I would camp because Norway, a lot of people might not know this, but you can pretty much camp anywhere in Norway, even on private land. They have this law that allows for camping. So you can just camp all throughout Norway, no permits or anything needed. So I think I'd do that if I come back. But we
That's
went on the
unique and really cool.
we did something in Bergen that I don't usually do, but we signed up for a fjord tour. I don't
Okay.
usually sign up for tours. Um, but we took a bus and then we from Bergen to this fjord, and we took a boat into the fjord. And that I also recommend to anyone. I mean that boat tour was amazing. Just being like in these valleys. Like there's like a mountain on each side of the fjord and just beautiful green hills and like quaint little houses in the mountains and just beautiful, beautiful nature.
So you're
Um,
going through the fjords. You're like in between mountains,
uh-huh.
almost like in a valley.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah, and
are the mountains pretty green themselves?
yeah, uh-huh. Very green. Kind of like I imagine Scotland to be, which I've never been to. Um, But we kind of did a funny thing. We booked a whole group or sequence tour where it was like we rode the boat down the fjord, and then from that destination that we got to, we actually took the railway, the Flam Railway, to this other city called Toffen. And so it was actually a whole like combined tour that included the railway and the boat tour. So I would recommend that for first time travelers as well. And I can again send you the link to that. But yeah, the only thing about that day that that was really kind of a bummer is once we got to the end of the Flam Railway and we got to this city called Toffen, the train that was supposed to take us back to Bergen got delayed. And so we were stuck in this tiny, tiny train station for hours and hours and hours. And like this is like this small isolated city. There's no like way in and out of it, you know? And we were just stuck in this little train station and we just ended up playing 20 questions for hours and hours. And so that was a memorable part of our trip as well. Um but yeah, overall, um amazing nature, amazing place, Bergen.
Nice. So you're saying that Bergen, at least, but maybe a lot of Norway is a pretty green place, and there's mountains which are also
Yeah.
green,
Yeah. Yeah, at
and of
least
course
what
it's
I
on the
experienced.
coast.
Yeah. Yeah, very green, very beautiful. Yeah.
Is it full of a lot of different like tree life in all these green areas in the mountains and elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean it seemed like I don't know, I'm not an expert on different types of trees, but I mean it seemed
I'm just
like
talking visually. Does it look
yeah, it
like
was
it at least?
beautiful, beautiful trees and mountains and lakes and streams.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
I I want to keep going. Is there anything else you want to cover on Norway? Because I'm
Um
down.
Yeah, I mean, just try the food, get around and try out the different places. Try the mussels. That's my
Yeah.
recommendation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's go. Let's move on. We'll do your number nine favorite country that you've ever been to. What's number nine? So 10 was Norway. What's number
Right.
nine?
Number nine is Spain. Um,
Okay.
yeah, Spain, another European country. So,
Yeah, let's break it down. I've never been to Spain before. So yeah,
yeah,
why is Spain your number nine favorite country you've ever been to?
sure. Yeah, so the first time I went to Spain, I was 16, and so it really stands out to me. I think I've been to Spain three times now, two or three times. At least two, maybe three. Um, but the parts of Spain that really stick out to me are Barcelona. I love Barcelona, and also Alhambra, which is this amazing historical site. But maybe we could start by talking about Barcelona and why I
Yeah,
like that
that's a
city.
famous place I've never been to, but
Yeah.
I really want to.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love Barcelona, so this might not be news to most people. But because I went there when I was 16 and I was so impressionable at that time, it really sticks in my mind as this place that stands in such stark contrast to the American cities that I had been to,
How so?
and have been to. I think the thing that really sets it apart to me from American cities is the walkability. I just felt like throughout Barcelona, you could do these walks almost anywhere in the city, and you would just be confronted at every turn by these beautiful buildings, beautiful architecture, and these amazing restaurants and shops and quaint little side alleys. I mean, the whole place is filled with courtyards um and and really beautiful architecture. And
So
just the
it's really
contrast.
meant to like it's meant for you to walk all the way through, and it's meant for you to be kind of like sitting everywhere and walking everywhere and just being everywhere
Yeah.
and kind of enjoying it. Like it's not just a place where you're just going from place to place, in a rush to go from place to place. I mean, I'm sure some people are in a rush sometimes, but you talk
Yeah.
about the courtyards. Courtyards are kind of meant to be enjoyed, and so it seems like it's a place that is very much so meant for you to just be lingering everywhere.
Yeah, meant is an interesting way to put it because I don't know why Europe is this way and America is not this way. It's actually one of the things that animates my uh studies, my American studies scholarship is I'm really interested in public spaces and public affect is what it's called in the academic circles that I'm working in, but basically like public atmosphere, right? What makes a place have a public atmosphere and what is it about the material nature of that place that is conducive to different types of atmosphere? But yeah, meant is an interesting way to put it because I tend to think that a lot of places in the world were like this before. That this is just a way of humanity to create places that, you know, encourage you to slow down and encourage you to spend time and encourage you to sit. And I actually
Just
think that
linger
maybe
and soak
it's
it all
and
in.
linger, and soak it all in. But I actually think that it's modern culture, modern Western culture especially, that has taken that has reached its pinnacle in America, which has kind of moved away from this, right? Which has prioritized convenience, efficiency, and profit over these other values of atmosphere and lingering and taking your time. And so,
And
I
so,
mean,
sorry. Okay. Now, when you say that you feel like most places were like this before, are we
hmm.
talking like 100 years ago, or more like 150 to 200? Are we talking more 1800s, or
Like
like
I'm
at
saying,
what
like
point do you think more places than not were like this,
it's a good
roughly?
question. I mean, I don't think there's a certain date that you can hold true to all over the world, and it's actually something that I'm still in the process of studying. So check back with me when my thesis is finished. But
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not asking for a specific date, that lived
yeah,
in
but I
infamy
tend to
when
think that
the whole
when things
whole
like
world's
this,
culture went down the toilet, but I don't know. What do you think? Give me a
but
ballpark.
yeah, I think when things like this started to change is around the time of the Industrial Revolution, when modern forms of production really started to take hold in our societies. I think that this changed our public atmosphere as well. And like I said, it's been able to reach a height in America, which it hasn't been able to reach, in my opinion, in places like Europe, because places like Europe have this infrastructure that it predates the Industrial Revolution, you know? And people in Europe seem to value that infrastructure. Like in America, when a building is old and maybe it's like 50, 60 years old, the kind of feeling or like the move seems to be like, oh, let's tear it down. It's time, this building is old. It's outdated. We need to like, build a new one. But there doesn't seem to be that tendency in Europe so much. And part of that is the materials that they use to build these buildings last, right? Like the new buildings that we build don't last. And so they do need to be updated after 50, 60 years. But a lot of the buildings in Barcelona, they've been there for hundreds of years, and they're still operating as restaurants or houses or apartments. And so this infrastructure that predates the Industrial Revolution is all over Europe. And it's one of the things that I love about Europe the most is that the infrastructure feels more human. It feels more personable and human scaled.
And by the infrastructure, you're referring to a large degree to architecture, but just everything else. Like
Yeah, I mean, architecture, but also like the city planning. The roads, the size of the roads, the size of the buildings, the way that things are laid out. I mean, that's why I was pushing back on meant to be this way. I mean, I think things just happened that way. It's not like somebody sat down and planned Barcelona bit by bit like we would a modern city. I think it just probably happened. I could be wrong. Maybe there was some 15th century city planner that really mapped out Barcelona. But if that's the case, they mapped it out in ways that are much different than how we would map a modern city, I think.
But okay, interesting. But
Hopefully this isn't too much of a tangent for
no, no,
people.
I mean, I brought us on this tangent. It's interesting. So, and again, by city planning, you also include the fact that you say there are courtyards everywhere. They're kind
Yeah.
of, again, I don't want to, the word meant, but I feel like the courtyards, when courtyards are made, they're meant to be enjoyed,
Yeah.
they're meant to be
Yeah.
lingered in. And
There seems to be an invitation to linger in Europe in general. I mean, when you finish a meal in Europe, you're not kind of shuffled out, you know?
of a
Somebody doesn't,
restaurant.
yeah, at a restaurant, somebody doesn't come up to you and say, would you like your bill? In fact, you have to bother the waitress or the waiter for your bill usually. And people just kind of sit and linger after their meal, and I really appreciate that.
That's a really cool cultural contrast. I haven't spent hardly any time in Europe. I've only been there once, but the fact that you've put a lot of mileage over there, that's really cool. Um, what's it called? But yeah, it's interesting how you really like, the quality of even the roads, the pavements, this, that, and the other, the shape and the size of the buildings. And it's just such a contrast to you compared to most American cities.
For sure. I mean, even small things like the cobblestone roads, as opposed to an asphalt road, I think it just creates a different atmosphere, right? Where you can look at the cobblestone roads and you can look at how they've been worn down by foot traffic, by wagon traffic if they're that old, or by car traffic now. And the material of the roads has this essence, I feel like, of like a connection to history. It feels like it's being imprinted on the road, right? Like somebody was here years ago and somebody was here last year, and you can see that indentation in the material. And I appreciate that. It like creates an atmosphere of where you feel like people have lived here. People do live here, and there's traces. There's traces of those people, and that's something I really appreciate.
You appreciate the fact that the cobblestone roads, as opposed to, asphalt pavement, like it creates a different vibe. Like it's in the air. You
Yeah.
can feel it. You can taste it. Huh?
I think so.
That's
That's something
cool.
that really attracts me to places is the texture and the atmosphere.
That's cool. Okay. Sorry about that. So that was a long tangent, but yeah, go back. So everything else you love about Spain. So you love the walkability, the architecture, the fact that it's meant, it sounds like it's when you say walkability, among other things, it sounds like it's a place that's meant, and set up so that you can walk everywhere. Like all the
Yeah,
different things that Barcelona has to offer, it's set up so that you can get to everywhere, by foot. And so
for
because of that,
sure.
lots of people are walking all over the place.
For sure. And that's something I really value. I feel like when you're in a car, you're separated in some ways from the place, right? You have this big piece of metal and glass that's separating you from the atmosphere of a place. And when you're walking around a place, you can really soak in the atmosphere and get to know it. And, there's some American cities that allow for that, but a lot of American cities that I've been raised in or that I've visited, I feel like it's difficult to walk, and dangerous to walk with the speed of the traffic and things like that. And I never uh, felt like that in Barcelona. And there's these big, broad walkways where you can walk, and there's no car traffic, and that's something that I really appreciated as well.
That's really interesting. That's really cool.
I think one thing that we've talked about before is the architecture in particular in Barcelona. We've talked about that, right?
Uh, today, maybe a little bit.
But I mean, in the past, me and you, right?
Probably, yeah. But I mean, go
Yeah.
ahead and break it down right now.
Yeah, I mean,
So
the
you're saying
thing that
even
always,
by other places' standards, even other European standards, you really appreciate the architecture in Barcelona in particular. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, and I'm not an architecture expert, but one thing that always sticks with me about Barcelona is the architecture of Gaudi. Uh, and there's this famous cathedral there, the La Sagrada Familia Cathedral. And of any building that I've ever seen in all my travels, I think it's my favorite building. And it's probably the real reason for the inclusion of Spain on this list is actually this one building. Um, there's something about that building in particular that has stuck with me. I mean, for those of you that know the history, the building is still under construction. It's unfinished. I saw some projections recently that it will be finished likely in the next 5 to 10 years. That's their projection. But it's been under construction for at least 100 years, I believe. And the part of it that really stuck out to me is there's this facade. Um, there's this there's this big panel at the front of the building that is sculpted, and it's this amazing sculpture that Gaudi worked on that depicts the Sacred Family, or Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, the Nativity. But it's not
Oh,
just
so it's like
anything.
showing Jesus as a baby. That's what the sculptures are.
Yeah, that side
Okay.
of the cathedral is showing Jesus as a baby, and uh, it's not just like any facade, because I've seen hundreds of cathedrals now in Europe, and they have, motifs that kind of reoccur, but this facade is different because Gaudi, for those of you that know anything about this guy, he was really obsessed with nature and with organic forms. And so he spent his whole life studying nature, studying organic forms, and then he would bring this into his architecture and into his sculpture. So as you look at the facade of the cathedral, it looks like it's melting, like it's somehow melting. And it's
The
flowing, it's
cathedral
stone.
itself seems like it's melting.
The front of the cathedral, it's all flowing. It's
Huh.
it's it's stone that looks as if it's flowing to me, and
Okay.
and it sticks in my mind. The organic imagery that he uses, it's kind of hard to put into words, but it took my breath away, and still sticks with me as the most interesting architecture that I've ever witnessed. And I'm not alone in this. I mean, you know, thousands and thousands of people see Gaudi's work uh, as genius,
Unique
but
and nuanced and
unique and nuanced
different
and
from everyone
genius.
else's.
Yeah,
And
I
again,
mean,
look, you say,
yeah,
oh, you're not an architecture expert. Even if you're not an expert, you're a buff, as far as I'm concerned. So,
well,
but anyway, keep going.
I love architecture, but like I haven't studied the
Yeah, yeah,
terminology.
regardless, again, you're
Yeah.
still a buff, so okay, so
Yeah.
keep talking about this cathedral and the sculpture.
Yeah, but it's a really interesting building as well because as you go inside, which they've only finished after Gaudi passed away, but they try to follow his designs. The interior of the cathedral looks like a forest. So all the pillars look like trees, and they draw your attention up to the roof, and then the roof is this really brightly lit space that it's like bringing your gaze up to heaven, you know. And it's just breathtaking inside as well. Um, and they have some models in the building where they show how Gaudi designed the architecture. And what he did is he took string and he took weights, and then he would suspend these weights from string and then look at the natural mathematical lines that the string would form based on these pendulum weights. And then he would design the architecture of the building based on the arc of these strings that were naturally created through the weights. And then he would flip that, so that he could build these perfect archways um, and architectural features. So I'm just amazed by Gaudi. his dedication, also his dedication to God. He was a very religious man, and he saw his work as a offering to God. It goes into that in the little museum there, and I've done reading since then on Gaudi. But yeah, that architecture just stands out to me as some of the most interesting and fascinating that I've ever seen.
Even just the way you describe every bit of that is really interesting to me. I mean, I didn't even know that was, I didn't even know that was a thing. But
Yeah, me
and
neither
anyway,
before I
keep
did.
going to keep talking about it. Is there anything else you want to cover in terms of that cathedral and those sculptures?
Well, I just recommend that people go and see it in person. I mean, there's part of the cathedral that they've built recently, like in the 60s and 70s, I believe, that is done in kind of a cubist style, which I don't love as much as the direct Gaudi architecture, but it's all amazing, and I think anyone should go see it. Go see it while it's still being constructed, and then go see it when it's finished. I hope hopefully when it's done, I'll go back and see. Um, but I want to make sure before we finish talking about Spain that I also talk about Alhambra, um, because that is also one of the coolest architectural things that I've ever seen as well, and it happens to also be in Spain.
Yeah, go ahead. Is it in Barcelona or somewhere else?
No, man, I we need someone to look up exactly where Alhambra is,
All right, well just go ahead and talk about it.
because I went when I was 16, and so
Okay.
it's been a while. But I think that points out how impactful it was for me because a lot of things from when I was 16 I don't remember so well, but visiting Alhambra is like cemented in my mind.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
so yeah, so for those of you that don't know, uh, Spain has a rich Islamic history
Yeah.
alongside its Western history, right? And so there's this intermingling of cultures in Spain, and Alhambra is like uh, a really cool representation of that. It's this like castle, as I remember it, or fortress, or religious site. It's hard to say which it is, but it's this beautiful example of Islamic architecture um, in Spain. And as far as Islamic architecture goes, I've never seen anything quite like it. The tile work is amazing. The attention to detail is mind-boggling. The geometric precision in that building was mind-boggling. I mean, it's just a feast for the eyes. Even somebody that wasn't interested in architecture, I think would go to Alhambra and be just amazed by the architecture and the artistry of that place. And it's so well preserved, and you're allowed to take a tour through there and just slow down and check out all the fine details of that place. Um, it was amazing. I would love to go back now that I'm older and have read a little bit more about Islam and the Islamic tradition, and go and see that place again because even my 16-year-old self was totally amazed.
Can you give us any specific details, or is it hard to explain some of the details that you love so much?
I mean, like I said, I was 16, and so I mean, some of it is a bit fuzzy, but the things that stick out to me is just the intricate tile work and the geometric designs. I mean, if you think back to when you were a kid and you look through kaleidoscopes, and if you're ever fascinated by a kaleidoscope and the geometric variation, it's like that, but imprinted all over the walls and the ceilings. Just these amazing designs. And you got to think back to that time. I mean, people were working by hand, right? And they were working by hand to leave something an offering for their God as well, similar to Gaudi, but from this other tradition. And so if you want to see the beauty of the Western religious tradition, you can go see Gaudi. If you want to see the beauty of the Islamic devotion, you can go see Alhambra. And I think that's something that I wish that more people could see is the beauty of these diverse religious traditions. I think especially right now in our current social and political moment where people are at each other's throats about identity and um, different um, different ideologies. I think that if we could recognize the beauty that exists in these different traditions, and instead of trying to judge like, oh, Western architecture is better or Islamic architecture is better, just appreciate what human beings have done and have um, left us to see. I think that we could we could have a little bit more peaceful world. That's my utopian side coming out. If we could appreciate each other's culture and beauty, I think the world would be a better place. So if anyone goes to Spain, check out Alhambra and Gaudi. That's my recommendation.
That's really cool. Now, maybe I missed it earlier. To be clear, is Alhambra, is it a mosque?
As I remember, I think it was like a kind of a fortress, but for sure it's dedicated to God as well. I think,
Dedicated
we
to
think of
Islam.
things as
It,
it
it's
is
it's it's
yeah,
Islamic, correct?
yeah. But we think of things as separated like that. But you look at like old European castles and yeah, they're a fortress, but they also have like a beautiful church within the fortress, right? So
That's really
both.
cool.
Yeah.
What are some, let's break down, you have a little more time. Let's break down what else is really important to you about Spain.
Yeah, I mean, the food was amazing as I remember it that trip, but also my later trip, just really good food. I had some really delicious steak in Spain. They also have the tapas culture, like the appetizers culture, where you can try all these different appetizers, which is amazing. I would like to go back and explore that more. Um, yeah, great food, beautiful architecture. I had a lot of fun there during New Year's. I went for New Year's and that was a fun time. I was kind of surprised, like the Spanish as they were counting down for New Year's. I was expecting like a huge party after the countdown, but after the countdown, people were just kind of like, "Yeah, that was great." And the only people that were really celebrating that I remember were these Italians that were next to us, and the Italians were really going hard and celebrating, but the Spanish were a little bit more subdued. But I can appreciate that as well. Like there's kind of like a chill atmosphere throughout Spain, which I can appreciate.
A little more low key, huh?
It's a little bit low key. I mean, I'm sure there's parts of the Spanish culture that aren't like that, but that was kind of my impression.
That's cool though. Yeah, that's a cool vibe to get into also though. Like even
Yeah,
me, sometimes I need a little bit more low key and I enjoy
yeah,
it. So,
for sure. I found out recently too, I have some Spanish ancestry, side of my family, the Xavier side. So I'd like to go back and dig into that as well.
um, that's cool.
But yeah, I think that's
Anything
all I
else in
got
particular? Go
for
ahead.
Spain. I think
What's
that
that?
might be all I have for Spain.
Is
Um,
there um is there anything specifics that you want to talk about with the food that you could talk with the tapas culture or where you try all kinds of different new things or what?
Oh man, I mean, like I said, I would just like to go back and really dig into it. I mean, the first time I was there, I was with my dad, and I love my dad, but he is not a foodie, and he is not so into getting into the food. Like he's the kind of guy that he would just as much enjoy going to McDonald's as the local places abroad. And so
Oh, that's funny.
I didn't get to do the food deep dive I wanted on that trip. And then the second time I went was with Chris, my brother, and we just didn't have enough time. We went to Madrid, and we just didn't have enough time to really dig into the food. But for the bit that I had, I really enjoyed it, and I'd like to go back and explore.
Anything you want to talk about with Madrid or
I mean, Madrid is beautiful as well. I went in the winter, and Landon knows this about me. I hate the cold. And so
yeah.
I would like to go back to Madrid in the summertime where I can really embrace the place. Anytime a place is cold, I just want to get inside as soon as possible. So I would like to explore Madrid in the warmth. But beautiful city. I've heard since going that for a lot of people prefer Madrid over Barcelona. So I'd like to go back and see why that is.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. With Spain, are you mostly thinking about the beauty of the cities and the public places and the architecture and urban spaces? Like, do you see much, natural beauty from your
Oh,
experience
I
there?
mean, there is a lot of natural beauty in Spain. We did go to we went to some islands off the coast of Spain. We went to Mallorca. And Mallorca is super beautiful naturally. Um, really awesome farmland and beautiful coast. And then my brother Chris that I just mentioned, he just went and did the Camino de Santiago, which goes
Oh
through
yeah.
Spain and goes through like some of those rural areas. And he showed me some pictures recently and how beautiful the natural landscape is. So if I went back to Spain, I would like to dive into the nature and into the food culture and see.
It sounds like you've seen some natural beauty there, but you're more familiar with the beauty of the urban public spaces in Spain.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's correct.
But with the island you went to off the coast, you say you have seen, whether it's farmland and you see natural beauty. What kind of natural beauty is it? Is it green? Is it mountainous? You see, you've been to some of the beaches or the coast or what?
Yeah, I mean, just very beautiful farmland. Again, I was 16, and so some of it's a little bit fuzzy, but I mean, the the farmland, I just remember there being a lot of sheep and livestock, and it just was kind of like what you imagine a rural farmland area to look like. Um, but actually, strangely enough, one of the things that really stands out to me from that trip to the island was it's where I fell in love with uh, listening to music, which is kind of a funny thing. It's not so connected to that place, but I I remember sitting in Majorca and I put on this one album um, by the Beach Boys, which is it's called Smile, and just like looking at the out at the fields in Majorca, and then listening to this album that kind of changed my life. It was the perfect setting to kind of like quiet down and just really sit with the music. And after that experience, Landon knows I got very interested in listening to music and playing music. So that part of that trip sticks out to me as well. But that could have happened anywhere, I guess.
Yeah, no, but it's cool that it's associated with a memory in a specific place.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to address about Spain at all? I mean, I want to keep going if you are, but is there
No,
anything else to cover about Spain?
I think that's probably good for Spain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again. And like you said, I do want to hit your top 20 at some point. So, yeah, people, this was Scott Muhlstein's number 10 and number 9 all-time favorite countries he's ever been to. But yeah, we're gonna have you back on the show real soon and we'll pick up at number 8 and number 7 ideally. But yeah, thank you again, Scott, for coming as a guest on my show. Yeah, peace out, man. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.